Hi everyone, and welcome to the jazzguitarlessons.net live webinar Q&A with your host Nathan and special co-host today, Marc today Seguin.
Hey!
And today we're streaming from our Toronto locale. Today Marc has come down from Ottawa to Ottawa Gatineau to join us. So what are you doing here today?
It's so bad I don't have a swivel chair because I'll be doing this all the time.
I should probably stop that.
Sorry guys. So I'll be monitoring questions. So as I'll be typing on the YouTube page, please ask questions here. So this is live. We will be tackling questions from people that send us by email, but also I'll be doing this. I'm here not only for the reason of watching Nathan run the webinar, but also my fantastic fiance is working for TFT, the Théâtre Français de Toronto, writing music. She's the real musician in the house. You know that already.
Of course.
And top model and whatever. So I'm just pretending. I'm just trying to follow. So I'll be here only 2 days, and I'll be back in May for people that want to hang out or jam, whatever. I'll be back for about 10 days in May. We're doing a little workation. So please ask your questions. Yeah, one thing that we have to mention, we can tackle questions from the YouTube page only, where I wrote down, please ask your questions here. If you are commenting from the store, from jazzguitarstore.net under the video, we can't get to those questions right away. We'll be looking at those tomorrow or some other time. The featured tune of the month is...
Sunday My Prince for April, and the second half of the webinar will tackle questions related to Sunday My Prince Will Come, chord melody, the solo, single note solo, and the comping study for that. We'll look at what's particular sections for particular points of interest, difficulty, and really interesting parts.
Nathan's selection of the hardest bits, so we can dismantle them and probably you can go home and cry after.
Exactly. I know I will after this. And the first half will tackle direct questions that you've emailed to us at the email address admin@jazzguitarlessons.net, and questions that I've picked up from interacting with you through jazzguitarstore.net, questions you've left as comments on various lessons and things like that. So with that, let's get started with questions.
Okay, first question from Greg. And Greg asks, and I'll quote, "My question's about playing with a pick versus playing with no pick. As a classical or flamenco trained guitar," so he's been training flamenco, good job, "I have never used a pick to any extent. For jazz, do you recommend pick fingerstyle, or is fingerstyle okay?" Okay, quote unquote.
Right, and I think I answered Greg directly. It was a personal question he asked directly to me, and I answered him, I think, earlier, but I thought this was such an interesting question. It's a question that probably comes up for a lot of jazz guitar players. And I think the most important part to this is you can do anything you want, because there's no shortage of musicians who play with picks, without a pick. And also some weird combinations therein, hybrid picking.
Saying I'm weird?
Yeah, and I'm weird too, I guess. The coolest people are the weirdest. So a lot of that has to do with, like, if you think of any of the examples of the jazz greats, like you can immediately think of someone like Wes Montgomery and George Benson. They don't play with picks. They have their own thumb picking styles, but plant their hand right down on the guitar body and then use their thumb to strum chords and play single notes, and pretty much entirely downstrokes.
Wes?
Oh yeah. Just and so, like, can you imagine that? Just all downstrokes with the kind of lines that Wes is playing. He can do it though, and I mean, so can you. If that's the kind of sound you want to dedicate to, he gets a very particular tone. Everybody talks about that tone. On the other hand, you have players like you have very standard pick playing players that have amazing sound and tone and phrasing and everything. Pat Metheny.
He has an unorthodox technique though.
For
picks with the round edge of the pick and all. So
yeah, and that just goes to show, experiment with what you like and the kind of sound that you like. On the fingerstyle side of things, you have people like, I think we've been posting a lot of articles and videos of this young guy named Nelson Veras. I think he's Brazilian, and there's a hilarious documentary of Pat Metheny playing with a 14-year-old Nelson Veras in the 80s, and I think Pat Metheny was meeting some people, meeting some prospective students and all that stuff, and they were filming him, and he plays with Nelson, and this kid just blows him out of the water. He's like, what? This is crazy. Wow, you're really good, kid. And Pat Metheny's saying that. It's crazy. But he plays entirely fingerstyle, and he has this amazingly beautiful sense of time, phrasing, and a very gorgeous tone on his nylon string guitar. So this just goes to show there's a
And we are back. I'm sorry we had internet issues, weather issues.
Possibly, I'm not sure. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Anyway, as I was saying, the practical advice that I want to give you has to do with using examples of guitarists, saxophonists, pianists, but guitarists mainly, that you love hearing, the type of sound that they love, and try to emulate it, either by playing with the right hand and left hand techniques that they use, or using your own left hand and right hand techniques to emulate that same sort of sound. So work from an actual real life example that you love personally.
Perfect. Just I want to move things along. Anything else?
That's pretty much it for that one.
Because we had a lot of questions, lots of great questions, and we'll do Jim now. Jim asks, could you explain a couple of must-know jazz waltz comping rhythms?
Oh,
thanks.
Right. So the main, I remember this question. The main thing that you hear in jazz waltz comping rhythms has to do with actually splitting the bar in half. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So it's 2 against 3. Yeah.
Exactly, a duplet against 3. Which is a pretty common thing that you'll hear comping in jazz waltzes a lot of the time. I think
there's a traditional 2 if you want to go boom pwet pwet boom pwet pwet boom pwet pwet.
Kind of like a polka waltz kind of thing.
pretty lame, but still
it still works. And you could also do the 4 on the floor, chunk 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 chunk. You could do it at 3 as well. There's no harm in doing that. Those are the main comping rhythms I'd say you'd want to look at, especially the duplet rhythm, the 2 on 3 rhythm. And depending on how you play it, because what that really consists of on paper is 2 dotted quarter notes. And the way you'd approach that is that the first note starts on beat 1, of course. The second note starts on the end of 2. And you can even out the swing if you'd like to make it a much more straight pattern. 1, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Or you can delay that second note as you would in swing. And get the da 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 da. So it's a little bit closer to the beat 1 of the next bar. It's up to you. It depends on the feel that you're trying to go for. So I'd say that that's the main one you probably want to hear the most, and it's probably also the most challenging to get.
Yeah, it's difficult, and once you get it down on the basic 1 and then end of 2, which is a dotted quarter and a dotted quarter, you can displace this 1/8 note to the right, 1/8 note to the left, and you start messing around. That 1 to the right is pretty easy to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's common too, but I mean, it's mix and match because as jazz comping goes, we don't always like play the same rhythms necessarily while comping. So
it's probably just like in the usual piano comping techniques you'd hear. It's usually a good idea to vary your rhythms a lot. You want to go for that solid and for a few bars, but then you might want to vary it up, just like in piano comping or something like that. Another thing I think about that is that you can relate this to actually the Charleston rhythm. It's exactly the same figure, and you can do the same sort of things with it. So dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note, and in 4/4 time. But then you can also displace this by half a beat, maybe even half a beat more after that in 3 time. So experiment with it, see what you got.
Good, excellent answer, excellent question too. Neil,
I think it's Niall.
Niall,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
What are the best? So I think we have to really plow through those,
or
else we'll be out of time soon. What are the best ways to apply the mixolydian scale over a jazz blues? Also, can you add mixolydian to pentatonics and rock blues or 1/4/5 blues to make it jazzier? That's a great question. We could spend hours on.
Yeah,
basically.
let's try to spend only a couple minutes on. So I'll give a simple answer. I'll tackle the second part first. Under the gun. So also the second part, can you add mixolydian to pentatonics in rock blues, 1/4/5 blues, things like that, to make it jazzier? I'd say that yes, you can definitely do that. Take a scalar approach to your rock blues and your pentatonic licks to give it a more jazz scale kind of sound to it. So you're starting in B flat. Well, I guess in the rock blues, let's say like it's an E blues. So play E mixolydian. It's a good starting point. And for that first chord, for the 4 chord, go to A mixolydian, and then for the 5 chord, go to B mixolydian, and you'll get a nice scalar sound. But I would say that the thing that makes it more jazzier is actually your phrasing approach and your rhythm. So if it's in a swing rhythm instead of a straight rhythm, then swing hard, and swing hard or swing subtly. Play with that shift. But also in the phrasing, you're looking for more those saxophone lines, right? The long scalar, usually diatonic, stepwise patterns through the scales with chromatic steps in between, and you can always incorporate chromatic passing tones. And I think that kind of approach, more than the specific scale that you choose, gives you a jazzier sound.
Reminds me of using 2 pentatonic scales or even 1 pentatonic scales in private lessons, and people go, "How can you make it so jazzy?" I'm not playing any, the exact same notes. It's
same notes.
The timing and the push and pull. Phone call. See, we're very popular guys. I'm sorry.
Just ladies were taking this.
There's this crowd of journalists right outside. Right here.
Totally famous. Yeah.
There's a picket line. Stop jazz education.
Okay. Jazz is the worst. Great Twitter account.
So yes,
Yeah.
mixolydian scales. It doesn't matter. You could even just use pentatonics and create a jazz sound, and vice versa. You could be in mixolydian and still sound like a rocker.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It really, I think it's more the feel and the phrasing approach that gives you a quote unquote jazzier feel to it. As for the first part, best way to apply mixolydian scale over the blues is the simplest way. It's a 5 chord. You see any sort of 5 chord, a dominant 7th chord, just play that chord's root, the mixolydian scale over that root. So B flat blues, on that B flat 7 chord, B flat, play B flat mixolydian. Use chromatic passing tones and use really diatonic stepwise phrasing and swing rhythms to get that jazzy sound.
Great answer. So we have a question by another MA Marc-Antoine, friend, Montreal fellow also. Sorry, and he asks, major 7 flat 5 or major 7 sharp 11. In fact, it's Lydian. He's working on Black Narcissus. I'm just translating as I go. What does Lydian? How does Lydian work? And how can we take an approach that makes it sound good? So it's a great question. So in fact, I can maybe take over and take just 30 seconds to answer Marc-Antoine. He's probably watching now, or he'll be in touch with us by email soon, I'm sure. I guess it's just taking the same approach as you would with the major scale. Taking the C major scale, and instead of having an F natural, you have an F sharp, so it's a sharp 4, and just try to make phrases that use the natural tension and resolution of that same scale. So if you can solo over the major scale, you won't have it. Well, if you can't solo over the major scale, then don't try to play Mixolydian over anything. Really, it's raised 4, so the tensions
Lydian, I guess.
Lydian are. Sorry, yes, there are different spots within because of the way the half steps are put. So you have C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. I'm not sure if that was your question, Marc-Antoine. There's always pentatonic substitution. So play B flat minor pentatonic.
Oh yes.
No, sorry.
Over C or B.
B natural minor pentatonic. Thank you. Over C Lydian, C major. So you have the F sharp note. You have the 7th. You have everything. There's several ways you can substitute. What's the other one? You have D.
That's the one I knew of really well. But...
A minor 6 pentatonic. So it's D7 pentatonic. So A minor 6 pentatonic is A minor pentatonic. Take the G down to an F sharp, and that works over a C Lydian 2. Marc-Antoine, just get in touch with me if this is unclear. I'm not sure I got your question, but let me know in any case.
I feel like part of that way that question was phrased had to do with major 7 flat 5 or major 7 sharp 11.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Is that like maybe he's asking? Maybe I think Marc-Antoine, I think you're asking which chord symbol is preferable. I would say that major 7 sharp 11 makes more sense as the Lydian major chord symbol that people default to. If people see major 7 flat 5, it has a few different connotations.
You'll assume that the 4th is present and it's not raised.
Yeah, and that there's a big gap between the flat 5 and the natural 6. So you can work with that, and you can find a scale that would work with that. But and it's probably a harmonic minor mode of some sort.
Yeah, 4C would be B flat harmonic minor, but it doesn't even work because there's a
there's a couple other things. So major 7 sharp 11 would be the Lydian chord symbol. That would be it.
Great. So thank you, Marc-Antoine. We'll be in touch for sure. I might swing by Montreal and we'll have a jam. He has a 5 to 7 kind of jam session every other week on Saturday. So friends, beer,
Yeah,
mostly beer.
Nobody's friends, but we all have beer.
So next question, we have Dawn asking. It could be an open-ended question. I've done several videos on YouTube in the past about this.
Yeah.
It's transcriptions. How? It's just this question. And as well as what are the 3 simple steps to get started as an absolutely beginner adult in the transcription world? So step 1.
Oh, did you want to field this one? Or no. Okay. So
I'm curious.
Step 1, transcriptions. You've got to listen. You've got to listen. You take the recording that you're listening to. Start off with, I don't know. Someday my prince will come. Wow.
Miles Davis.
How relevant. Yeah. Take a listen to that recording, the Miles Davis recording maybe, and listen to especially to the parts that you're trying to transcribe specifically. If you're doing a general transcription, then it's going to take even more time, but listen to the whole thing, get it in your head, memorize it so that you can actually sing it. And then I would say actually sing it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're singing if you have a horn line that you're trying to transcribe, sing that line. Because if you can sing it, then if you can audiate it, imagine the sound in your head, then you'll have no problem actually putting it to paper. Once you got to figure out the paper. Or
and if it's too fast, use the software. If you can't sing it because it's a fast line, Charlie Parker or whatever, take it down.
Yeah, we're living in a golden age of transcribable music. Yeah. You listen to the YouTube clip of it, and you can just click on the gear button, and there's a speed control that says 50% or 0.5 times speed. So very easy now to actually transcribe. I'm sure at this point most of our own teachers would be like, back in my day.
Don't do that.
But no, like now we don't have to do that. We're lucky. So use the technology available.
So step 1 was listening. Step 2 was singing it.
Yep.
And step 3, execute, right?
Put it on the guitar. And obviously guitar is a funny instrument for fingering. So you can find fingerings in a number of different places along the neck. Find the one that's most comfortable for you. And just stick to that for now. And then later, as you remember, this is playing these solos or learning anything in jazz. It's a work in progress. So you can always attack the same lines on different places on the neck in different positions later on if you'd like to. But get comfortable with that one part first, so you get a really solid handle on it.
And if I may add, did you have anything?
No,
so
please.
okay. Just adding a preliminary step, like a step 0 in the process would be, I've seen higher level of success with like triple, or like people actually doing transcriptions when they know what they're doing. It's like if you say I want to run and you don't know, it's like running a marathon, you want to run 50 miles, really? Like, okay, just start running. It's like, no, wait, how many miles are you going to run? So for me and for a lot of students, like I want to get these 8 bars down and commit not to do anything else transcription wise for 2 or 3 weeks a month, but commit to selecting the passage you're working on. This goes without saying. It's like, you know what you're working on, so you can go, hey, success. Nevertheless, you started.
It's still a success, rather than like I'll do all of it and then you only get part of it done. That feels worse.
Yeah.
Even if you did the same as you would have when you set goals. So I mean that's a brilliant answer, I think. And yeah, prepare first, set a goal, and you'll find. I think you've always found, for all our listeners out there, you've always found that this technique, this approach is consistent with a lot of what Marc teaches in all of his lessons. So set goals.
Set goals.
The most important one, I think, aside from listening. So set goals, listen, sing it, execute.
And know why you're transcribing.
Yeah. Why would you? Don't just pick one.
Yeah, no West Montgomery date of birth, sign for astrology.
Exactly, yeah. He was Sagittarius, I believe, and
eat the same thing. Oh no, Pisces. West was Pisces. Was March 6th.
Sorry. George Benson was Sagittarius. Oh.
See, right there. See, first step 1.
Disclaimer: we take no responsibility for any misinformation we spread on this website.
So yeah, then you have to eat the same thing George Benson was eating, sleep the same hours, drink the same booze. I don't know. Who was drinking heavily? Miles was the tough.
Who wasn't drinking heavily back in that time? Disclaimer: we assume no responsibility for alcohol related. Sorry.
All right. So yeah, that's a great question. It's a timeless thing about transcription.
Right. Oh, and there was a second part to that, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
3 simple steps. Oh wait, no, wait. That was actually it. We already covered it. Sorry, that's right.
So we have one more question that is not related to the Tune of the Month Club, and then for about the next half hour after we answer Nate's question, we'll be tackling chord melody, measure 14. Okay, that's also. We have a list.
Someday, my prince,
see, but I'm reading my laptop now. So Nate asks, I have a question regarding outlining chords when soloing on a jazz blues. Already tough gig. I call this Pillar 2 in the Improv 101. That's the whole Pillar 1, Pillar 2 approach. Pillar 3 blog post coming soon. By the way, guys, I'm writing it. I know that it is generally a good idea to outline chords when soloing. However, I am uncertain if I should outline any chords when soloing over a blues such as Berg's works, or if I should just use the blues scale over all of the changes. So that's first question. So change running versus just blues licks on Berg's works, like minor blues. Or also any other ideas on how to solo over blues would be appreciated. Listen to Jimmy Smith and Wes Montgomery.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the dynamic duo.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this tune was on. I'm in the huge West phase now. Dynamic Duo has Down by the Riverside. That's the first track. Like this whole old tune, and it's so modern and it's so burning.
Minor blues or
just blues.
Okay,
like major blues-ish. So Nathan, sorry. So the question is change running versus just blues lines.
Right. Right. That makes sense. So you can't go wrong with blues lines. First off, I mean.
Wes.
Yeah, seriously, he just pulls them out all the time. His protege George Benson, same thing, blues lines all the time. But that isn't to say that soloing over the chord changes, targeting chord tones and outlining the changes through your soloing, always a good idea too. You can do that. I find that variety is always the best thing to do. Is the question? Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure. Is the question? Is it about how to do it, or is it about when to do it?
I know that it's a good idea in general to outline chords. However, I'm uncertain if I should outline chords when soloing over blues, or I should just use the blues scale. So the question is, which one should I do? And the answer is do both.
Do both. Do both. And you know, I don't think we talk about, as jazz pedagogues, I don't think we talk about instructors, teachers, educators, that's the word. I think I think we don't talk about enough about why we do use certain techniques or harmonic approaches and things like that. We talk an awful lot about how to do them and what kinds of possibilities and options you have. But I don't think we talk enough about why we choose specific techniques at a specific time. So a lot of it has to do with looking for a particular impact with your listeners, I think, and also with your band. Trying to find a way to draw your band into a particular mood, like a really hard driving shuffle section of a blues, for example. Get those blues lines out, just pull them out, and you get this really. I'm trying to look for affective terminology for this, emotional terminology for this. You play a really solid blues line, and there's a lot of drive and energy and like a steady, aggressive energy to it. If that's what you're looking for, pull out a blues line, I think. Whereas when you play something like a 2/5 lick, like over the bars 10 and 11 of a blues, C minor 7 to F7 to B flat 7 to the turnaround, right? If you pull out a lick that outlines the chord changes, you get a lot more of a sweeter harmonic kind of sound to it.
Forward motion, assuming you swing well.
Very, 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 very strong harmonic resolution. And so it's not so much of an aggressive, energetic sound as it is a different kind of energy in terms of harmonic resolution and tension and things like that.
It's more European in a way.
Yeah. You can think, gypsy jazz guitarists and things like that. You can think of, bebop lines and things like that too.
And Mozart.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what was I thinking? Go back farther, Nathan.
and J.S. Bach.
Yeah. Bach just did some amazing things with he was playing bebop before bebop was being played, right?
Kind of. Right?
Same sort of vocabulary, and I think that's the question you want to ask yourself. It's not, should I use blues or should I use outlining the changes? It's, when should I use either of these techniques? And
how can I use them effectively?
Yeah, and what effect does it have on your listeners, the band and your audience, and yourself too?
Yeah, and I want to point out that sometimes you listen to Wes, and it's like if you play a blues line and it kind of falls flat and there's nothing else after, you kind of change it and you go, okay, this idea is dead in the water, it's fine. I can just put a potato and ding. It's like, okay, that's it. But then you hear Wes sometimes on like live with a half note, and you just go, plays a blues line, it's like, oh, the drummer really hit that one, and it really it bit like he's fishing for something, and you hear the drummer going, oh yeah. And then you go, Wes goes, and they do that for like 24 bars, and then he's like, all right, enough. So he took the intensity there, put it there, and just plays a few like bebop lines there, and then once he's ready, goes for another one of these riffs that's super repetitive, and the energy keeps going, like, dude, and he solos for like 10 minutes on that first track.
God, that's
Live
crazy.
and a half note with Wynton Kelly trio.
Okay, I gotta check that one out.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm in a West phase these days.
Yeah.
That's all I'm listening to.
So that's a really good point. I think a lot of your decisions on the fly in a jazz context end up being predicated by what's the rest of the band members doing. If you throw a line out there and nobody catches it, nobody hooks onto it, then try something else. But if someone does hook onto it, let it ride even more. Do it again, and take it farther, and see how far you can go with your bandmates. And that's what a lot of jazz ends up being, is this dialogue between the soloist rather and the accompanying musicians.
And also continuity of ideas. Like, I'm going to take an idea and run it through, same as you're having a speech about the topic. You go until the idea is done, end the paragraph, go to another idea. But don't, often people go on to the next line and the paint is still wet on the wall.
Yeah.
Instead of just finishing, it's like, oh, there's a lot of juice you could wring out of that line, but you just play it once, and that's beginner's mistake.
I'm loving the metaphors. Yeah, many metaphors.
It's like arpeggios. It's like, oh, this is so hip, but then in the end, there's so much information. It would be like,
it's 15:30.
It is 15:30. It would be, so we have to go to the second.
Yeah, we do.
So, but it's like taking a medical encyclopedia and just like throwing words out there in your speech, like, whoa, I don't get it. It's too much. While if you just took one word and expanded upon its meaning. So More analogies.
There's
that's all I do in life. I'm just a provider of analogies.
It's the most effective tool, and I think we can go on for hours on this particular subject because there's no like one right answer, right?
It's contrast.
You have to use your sense of taste and develop your sense of taste by listening a lot. You have to use the sense of taste that you have to make the decisions on the fly. And I think that's what jazz improv is all about, is making these decisions about what you're going to do next, how long you're going to ride on a particular idea and expand on it versus changing to the next one based on how everybody else in the room is responding to it. So the jury's out, but variety is the spice of life, and make sure that you make your decisions based on how people are responding to it.
Great. So once again, live from the jazzguitarlessons.net studio in Toronto, we're going to be going to the second half. We may add a time tag to the video description to help people, by the way, because we'll be tackling questions about Someday My Prince Will Come. Toronto, for the record, for those of you who are Americans, it's like New York, but with nice people.
Also a little bit smaller.
People, pigeons are even friendly.
It's true. They
walk in like they open the door,
shake your hand, and
wish you a nice day. And there's a Tim Horton every other door.
That one's true. That one we're not joking about that. It's a problem or not. It depends on how you.
It's a problem. Or not. It could be.
One man's treasure is another man's. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so Jim asks for the chord melody in measure 14. We're talking about, of course, Someday My Prince.
Mm-hmm.
The first few chords have the melody on top, but where are the rest of the notes of that chord coming from? As they don't spell out the C sharp diminished 7. Can follow the rest of the measure, but I'm puzzled over that first chord. So we're talking about measure 14 in the chord melody to Someday My Prince.
That's right.
Loading still. But,
yeah.
So you'll be picking up the guitar and demonstrating?
Sort of.
Sort of?
Yeah, a little bit.
C sharp, bar 14. C sharp diminished 7.
There it is, right there, bar 14. Here we are. Yeah, this one's interesting, actually. Someone, I think, asked the question on the store itself, and I thought it was a really interesting question because it's weird, but it works really well. So you think of...
So let's spell out for people that don't have the sheet music. So top 4 strings, guitar notation, 11, 8, 10, 8.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 11, 8, 10, 8? Right, because it was... Yes, this was the weird chord, that's right.
So as we say in French, what does this eat in the winter?
What does eat in the winter? Really?
It's an idiom in French.
Actually, is that notation correct? Because it goes to the E. That should be a 9, shouldn't it?
Oh, error in that, people.
Oh, sorry about that, yeah.
So 11, 9, 10, 8.
So it looks like this. And this isn't exactly a C sharp diminished 7th chord as you'd expect it to be, which is you'd start with C sharp, which we are, and you go to E. That's the third, the flat 3rd, and then you would go to the flattened 5th, which would be G natural, because it's C sharp. So we have C sharp, E, G natural, and A natural. And we have 3 of those. We have C sharp, E, and A natural. Sorry, it's A flat in C sharp diminished 7th, isn't it?
No, it's a G. It's C sharp, E, G, B flat.
Oh, B flat. Sorry, we have an A natural here. We have this natural 6 rather than yeah, and it's kind of out of place. And then we have also a C natural, not as opposed to a C sharp. This isn't your standard.
There's a word for that, diminished appoggiatura, which means that any note from a diminished 7th chord can be approached by a half step below.
Oh yes, that's right.
That's
yeah,
what it is.
And actually that's where this entire bar is coming from, because what Nick ended up playing on this isn't so much a block C sharp diminished 7th as you'd expect. But when you're comping, we think about guitar chords as these vertical chords. Instead, he takes the entire bar to play a C sharp diminished scale in various ways. So he plays this chord, and then he goes down a whole tone.
Which is still diminished.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah. It goes down a whole tone from those top two notes, and then ends up a minor third below the original chord, which again is, if you know the C sharp diminished arpeggio, it's just minor thirds stacked on top of each other, and
C sharp, E natural, G natural, and B flat,
and then back up to C sharp,
and back up,
which is another minor third. It's a symmetrical chord, and so is the scale, the C sharp diminished scale. I guess we should have started from there. My bad. The C sharp diminished scale would start from C sharp, and it would go up a whole tone and a half tone. Every time, whole tone, half tone, whole tone, half tone. So C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G natural, G natural, A natural, B flat, C natural, back up to C sharp. This scale, just like the C sharp diminished seventh arpeggio, is symmetrical as well.
So let's point out to Jim that, Jim, if you were reading the tab, there was a mistake in the first chord. So it's 11, 9, 10, 8. We'll be fixing the sheet music soon. Ish.
Yeah,
sorry, in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just get on that. But during after
the webinar, we'll fix this, so it might explain why you were puzzled. But the other thing is, consider the arpeggio, consider the scale separately, and then you're like, oh, the other notes are from the scale. It would be like playing a C major 7 chord, which has a D note in it. So, well, D is the second note.
Exactly. Yeah.
Same thing.
So what I find interesting about this particular line is that it's not it's taking the horizontal. I did the wrong thing. Oh, it took the vertical harmony of C sharp diminished seventh and stretched it horizontally as the scale instead, and you get this. And I mean, you could keep on going with that, but he finishes off to, I think, C sharp minor C minor 11. Sorry, that's right. Because it's only one bar for that. Yeah, it's a beautiful.
One of my favorite voicings ever.
Yeah.
I wrote all tunes on my next album. All the tunes I wrote start with that,
just
or there's a variation of an inversion of that.
Just write a whole tune. Just.
That's the tune.
There you go.
There's a copyright. We shouldn't play this live.
Sorry.
So next question: are we good with the C sharp diminished?
I think so. Jim, I hope that answers your question. I think I answered it directly anyway. So if this is confusing anyone else, just maybe an email or something. Nathan@jazzguitarlessons.net. And again, vertical, think horizontal. It's a different approach than what you'd usually be looking at in conclusion. And it has some really neat effects. The C sharp diminished scale, or the diminished scale, or octatonic scale, because it's actually an 8-note scale instead of a 7-note scale, is really interesting all its own, and you can do a lot with it.
There's a whole universe in it: the triads and the minor triads,
yeah.
major triads,
and then basically two diminished seventh arpeggios stacked right next to each other is basically how it's made, and that's kind of what we're approaching here with this idea. So with this line, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Good. So we have more question from Craig asking about dotted 16th notes. So I'll just read out his question. How do I approach dotted 16th notes? And someday my prince will come. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to feel them when I read them. So we're talking about the chord melody.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think anything with Someday My Prince Will Come, the chord melody does feature that a lot. In fact, the line we just looked at, the C sharp diminished seventh in bar 14, does actually have the exact same rhythm. Da 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 da. With the dotted 8th note, and then a bunch of tied 16th and 8th notes and things like that. But it basically just 4 dotted 8th notes in a row. What that pattern is a it's just like we were talking about at the beginning of the webinar of how do I comp in 3. Well, you can do the 2/3 pattern, the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, to basically splitting the bar in 2s. Well, you can split the bar in half, or so you can split that rhythm in half even further, and you get 4 on 3, and it works out that it turns out that
it's rhythm, another notation for 4 against 3.
Exactly. So yeah. You can write that in at least 2 different ways. I'm sure there's a couple of other ways of writing it.
Or just not writing it with jazz players.
Yeah, it's just like just play 4 and 3. Okay, got it. No, and what you want to do with that 1 2 3 1 2 1 sorry 1 da, 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 it works really nicely because, thank you. It's nice to have someone clapping, actually.
I can hit the guitar.
I'm just kidding. What's really neat about this, actually, you'll hear this. You'll hear that the rhythm. It's pretty simple. You actually strike on beat 1, and then just before beat 2, exactly a 16th note before beat
So
2,
it's
you hit again.
3/16 notes, so it's a dotted A, 3/16.
Da 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 da. And basically, you can actually. There's 2 ways of approaching it. You can do it that way, or you can do it from the way of starting from 2. Da 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 da. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Da 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 da. Basically, just doubling your
2.
Your 2.
In fact, it's funny you mentioned starting with a 2 against 3, going to the 4. I'm working with a private student in New York, might be watching now. Oren, also a limited member and everything, and we were working on tapping those rhythms with 2 different sounds.
Hemiola.
So you can tap here, and you get a different sound on a different surface. And we were working out of the Peter Erskine Time Awareness book. It's a book for all instruments. It's great, highly recommended, just for subdivisions feeling. It's no level, no instrument, but it's just great. It's a timeless drummer. It's Peter Erskine. Played with Weather Report. I don't know if you know these guys, but he's kind of a big deal. And we've been tapping 2 against 3. Is that it?
That's 4 on 3. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Pass the goddamn butter.
Yeah, that's the one. That's 4 against 3. And how does 3 against 2 go?
Sorry. 1 2 3. Da, 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 da. What am I doing? Da, 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 da.
All right, that's 3 against 2.
Just let brain fart. Sorry.
It's kind of 2 different songs, 2 different little rhythms that you learn to loop. So once you can do 3 against 2, 2 against 3, and then 4 and 3 together, then going to your 3 4 and comping these things, it just becomes second nature.
The thing I was saying there, yeah, I think so. I think the term for that is you have these 2. It's polyrhythms, right?
Right.
A rhythm of 3 and a rhythm of 2 over top of it, lining up on beat 1 of each rhythm, is a polyrhythm. And together, I think the term that describes the song that it makes together is a composite rhythm. Is what academics call it.
Are there
composite
any
rhythm?
music academics? I didn't even know it existed.
No, it's not really. It doesn't really. No,
it's not even a thing.
It's not a thing. Whatever. Especially not in jazz. Well, definitely not in jazz. So yeah, the composite rhythm that 4 on 3 makes, 4 on a beat of 3 makes is pass the gosh darn butter. I should, censoring myself, is the one that people end up saying in music schools all the time. Pass the gosh darn butter, pass the gosh darn butter, pass the gosh darn. 3 here, 4 here, and that works really well. Do you know of any other?
No, I just learned them by sound.
Yeah,
there's no French equivalents.
Fair enough.
But it's interesting because I hear these guys playing in 3. Wes even would be an example, and they're still playing duple meter in a certain way. They always feel they can still swing that 4 on top, and then more modern drummers will kind of switch the time over to these things. So the more exposure you get to waltz feel, the more you're going to start to hear them as different levels of subdivisions for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, waltz feels are probably where you'll hear polyrhythms the most, or the first place you'll hear them. Certainly, I don't think you can play. I don't think jazz musicians can play a tune in 3 without switching to duple or quadruple meter. So
yeah, it's just the thing we do.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do? No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
And lastly, we have about 15 minutes left, and Nathan prepared some of the trickiest parts of the chord melody to Someday My Prince that we wanted to look at. There's 3 parts. There's part 13. Where we have open strings and Ed Bickert themed. Ed Bickert, by the way, check it out. We're Canadian. We're like, oh yeah, but if you don't know who Ed Bickert is, check out his stuff.
He's a Toronto guy.
Still around.
He's still
doesn't play.
He's oh really?
There was an interview on Vimeo. I think it was his son filming him and asking questions. I posted some on Facebook recently, like a year ago. It's the stories he comes up with. Really? He talks about being in Japan and buying donuts in a fancy hotel. It's hilarious. Okay. It doesn't have to do with music, but
he doesn't play anymore.
No, he doesn't. And it talks about going on tour in Japan, and also this whole thing with taking lessons and it didn't quite work. The method worked, like the method with his teacher, and it was like a meh. And then he says, my teacher goes, well, you might as well just buy jazz records and start learning this shit. And Ed goes, okay, I guess that's what I did. That's his whole conclusion.
That's so great.
He's a man of very few words, unlike us.
Yeah. Oof! Wow. So you look stare into the abyss. The abyss stares also into you. You know.
So you have this bar 13 you want to explore. That's in Ned Bicker style. You have
right.
The second half, how we have chords happening after the melody note. So this is a timeless chord melody topic. We're also working on a chord melody course for the website soon. And C, being careful, the right hand tap, which is the feature of the ending of a song. So I'll let you take it away and demonstrate on guitar, Nathan.
Sure. So what was happening? Okay, so yeah, so bar 13, if I remember correctly, is the line where I think it starts on B flat major. Let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is.
Right before C sharp diminished.
Yeah, right. Yeah, bar 13, bar 14. This one's kind of neat because you'll probably be playing with your fingers on this one, but you can, for the chord melody, you can still play it with pick too. I'm playing my nylon string, so here's just finger style. But this one's a really neat application of the fact that guitar has open strings. It has these notes that you can just access at any time without the use of your left hand. I don't know why I'm explaining what open strings are to guitarists. It doesn't make any sense. You know what they are, but
point being, the open strings will be of different degrees or function within the chord of the moment. That's where it's becoming interesting. You have a B flat major chord, and you do an open string for an E, an open E, and all of a sudden you get your sharp 11. And you have this free sharp 11 that you don't need the finger, that you can use and exploit. So
it's great in the key of B flat for that. There's a couple other strings that are really useful. I mean, obviously the B note doesn't work too well B flat, but let's take a look at some of the other ones. So immediately right off the bat, what's really cool about this line is that it's just a simple ascending line. It starts with B flat, D, F. This is a triad, but here's the twist. We're not gonna play the D fretted. We're gonna play it open. Oh, sorry. Just fretting. For those who can't see my fingers, but here, B flat, open D, F. There we are. Sorry, I'm gonna just take over the camera here real quick, Mark.
If you put the guitar, more parallel to the camera.
Sorry, there we are. Yeah, I don't do videos much. This is the guy who does all the videos. Soon.
This guy.
There we are. So yeah, we got this B flat, D, F, and then an open G for the 13 in B flat major 13. The G is the 13th or the 6th, the 13th. So, then we go up to fret 12, but as a harmonic, and fret 12 harmonic, you get it's almost like an open A because you don't actually have to stay on the A. You can do whatever you do with your hand afterwards. You know how harmonics work. Again, I don't know how to explain this to guitarists, but it's really useful because we easily lose sight of this as guitarists in jazz for some reason. Open strings and harmonics, they're just there.
Joe Pass in his what is it, the blues DVD thing, he says don't play, he plays a B flat blues at the beginning with his mustache and just going, and he goes, don't play open strings, people will fall asleep. I'm like, really, Joe? Well, it was 1968 after all.
Yeah,
so that's
it's true, yeah. So people like Lenny Breau and then also Ed Bickert started making use of open strings and harmonics in their chords, and it's really effective because they have a different tonal quality than a fingered chord. You can't shape the note like you can, like a little bit of vibrato is kind of nice, but you can't do that with an open D. It's like that's the sound.
Open D.
Yeah, but combining it with fingered chords is really effective. So you get this. Oh, sorry, I'm not used to the fret spacing on my nylon. And you get this sympathetic, or not sympathetic resonance, concurrent resonance between the strings that you wouldn't otherwise get. If I played this fretted, it doesn't have the same effect as.
It's like now you're really playing guitar as opposed to like blocking the notes, right?
Exactly. and you get this really interesting sound effect going on. And it's really useful, I think, as a way to change up the tonal quality of your guitar playing, and you get these strings that ring simultaneously, these notes that ring simultaneously that you wouldn't otherwise get by fretting.
Exactly, and it's fun because we have the same 4 notes repeated. Is it the same exact 4 notes repeated twice?
Good question. It's B. Sorry, it's B flat, D, F, G, A. And then B flat, D, F, G
again. So you have the first 4 notes of the line being played, and it launches into our C sharp diminished from earlier. Can you perhaps demonstrate that no tempo? Just
so you get this. That's the first triplet. Sorry, there's the A, and then where is it again? It's that one. Oh, sorry. And then ending with the
exactly. Beautiful. So you get on the diminished.
Diminished chord,
so
yeah.
Really well written. Our friend Nick is great job.
Yeah. So
you can't see his face, but he's as you say in English, of marble. He's just he's executing these lines and writing these tune of the months
like a statue.
He's a great player in Montreal. If you can ever see his band, he has with his wife or fiance, and I think the bass player is his brother. It's called the Passengers. Les Passagers. It's a French Franco like popish band, and they sing tunes. They won awards and all, but he's a really heavy jazz player. But he gigs in
as we can see from the tune of the month. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, the Passengers, and his name is Nick.
So, Ferron.
By the way, we just had a comment from Donnie. Donnie's been watching the office hours.
Hey, Donnie, good to hear from you.
The webinars, and so Donnie asked us, "Who's that Toronto guy you were talking about?" Ed Bickert. ED, first name Bickert.
Bickert. Bravo. Yeah, whatever.
Military. Yeah, so Bickert is known to be playing these sorts of lines with open strings, right?
Yeah, exactly. This entire chord melody for Someday My Prince is Nicolas. He decided to base the chord melody off of several techniques that Ed Bickert would use. So these open strings and harmonics with fretted chords. Playing these tight voicings that voice lead really nicely to each other on the first 4 strings. A lot of major and minor seconds in the chords, so you get that sort of crunch, that sort of
on the second and third string, taking advantage of that.
Yeah. You get that. Right. No, not that one, but you know, you get these second sounds, and you get this interesting reverberation from the guitar that you wouldn't otherwise get from just stacking thirds, for example.
At the Garden Party, by the way, if Donnie, you're still watching, Ed Bickert live in Toronto at the Garden Party with bassist
Don Red? No, wait, sorry, no.
Beard. For instance, like 1978. I think they won a Juno for that.
Oh yeah,
it's a duo album. It's like they play alone together. They play what is this thing called Love? It's timeless.
Gorgeous, yeah. And because it's just the two of them, bass and guitar, you can hear pretty much everything. Listen with headphones, because there's just so much going on in the chord voicings he's using and the dialogue between him and the bassist.
I remember transcribing parts of it, and I was just transcribing the head. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not transcribing the solo or anything. It's like I just want to get these voicings down. And like
the way he approaches melodies the way he approaches chord melodies. Sorry, because that's the topic. Is just it's timeless, I think. And I think for those of you who don't know Ed Bickert, the thing that people are most surprised about is he played everything. He got this amazing jazz tone on a Fender Telecaster. Not exactly the guitar that you'd expect to be played for jazz. You think in the big jazz boxes, the Gibson E series, EL series, and but Telly, you can get that nice jazz tone on a solid body Telly. It's fantastic. He played a lot of fingerstyle, right? Just fingerstyle.
No, hybrid.
He did hybrid picking. So, that's gonna be my sound effect for hybrid picking from now on. Doodle-doo. So I get the clicks in there, Mark.
So did you want to tackle the 2 other tough spots? So there's the beginning of the second half of the chord melody we want to look at.
Right. This part isn't so much difficult as it is you don't normally play like this. When you play chord melodies beginning as a guitarist, you usually end up playing chord melodies with the melody on top and the so-called top note, and then chords below it supporting it, because the top voice is the one that you can hear most clearly, followed by the bass. And then the inner voices are all kind of a jumbled mess usually to listeners. It's just there to support harmonically and have interesting voice leading and things like that. But if the second most easily heard voice is the bass, then why not try melody in the bass? And that's exactly where Nick went with I think the first 8 bars of the second half. Yes, that's correct. And he starts off by playing. The thing that I wanted you to note about playing the melody in the bass is that you have to approach the timing of chords relative to the melody itself a little bit differently
to make it transpire. This is a country. Also, country people do that on the guitar.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
It's at the bottom. It's not at the top. So.
Yeah, you listen to House of the Rising Sun. Dong dong ding it in, dong dong ding it in. Yeah, whatever. You can't play like a good country music guitarist can play.
Me neither. Not even trying.
Yeah, chicken fingers. Oh my gosh.
So the timing of the chords on top have to be different. So the melody in the bass transpires. It makes it clearer. It's more articulated.
Exactly. So play the melody in the bass alone, followed by the chord, or chord first then melody. Either way, if you put it right on top of each other, if you play bass and melody, bass melody and chord simultaneously, it's going to get lost, or it won't be as obvious to the listener as a bass melody as a soprano melody would be, for example. So Nick approaches this by bass chord, bass chord, bass chord, bass chord, and the bass, of course, is the melody. And so you want to think about chord melody playing is really complicated. So you really want to think of the various subtleties that bring out the melody part of chord melody, and this is just one of them. So if the bass is in the melody, try to stagger the chords so that they aren't covering up the bass melody.
Excellent. And one last little thing before we end the webinar. You wanted to talk about the tap.
Oh yeah, this is a really quick little thing. Nick does something that many of you probably have seen before or have tried yourself, but he plays this big freaking chord.
I think it appears, I'm sorry to interrupt, Summertime, which was the second tune of the month back in August 2015, and it was the last note. I think it was a C-sharp harmonic. Uses not a tap, but sometimes I do taps.
Okay.
And those old tune of the month videos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you want to make sure what he's doing is he's just playing this big chord. What is it? It's is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So he's playing a B flat add sharp 11. There's no major 7 in this, so it's an add instead of an extension. I think so. Whatever.
It's this.
He's playing this chord. Yeah, play this chord here. And then he because your hand is way up here in the 10th position, he wants to play these bass notes. He wants to play the B flat in the bass, obviously, because that's the chord you're trying to play. So he gets this really wide harmonic chord, big range. And so the thing I wanted to say about that, the right hand tap, is it's playing the first fret of the 6th and 5th strings simultaneously. And the 6th string is an F. The 5th of the 5th of B flat is F. You don't want that to come out more than B flat. So just watch out for how you're applying pressure with your right hand tapping finger. You want to hear either them both equally, or you want to hear the B flat more. That's the one you want to hear. That's the one you want to hear, sort of. So there, a nice mix of both of them.
It's very unorthodox.
Yeah, right hand crossing to the left. But hey, whatever you can do to get the sound you're looking for, do it. You know, if it's unorthodox, it's fine. Doesn't matter. There's a long history of guitarists in jazz and otherwise.
Jazz history is just people doing things their own way.
Yeah, the unorthodox, right? And breaking free of tradition is a big part of the tradition.
Hours.
Yeah,
it's 16 hours.
we have
to punch out. Have our punch card.
Clock out, go home for the night.
Yeah.
Anyway, once again, this is in the live webinar session for jazzguitarlessons.net. I'm your host, Nathan, and this is Marc-André Seguin, your real jazz guitar teacher at jazzguitarlessons.net.
I had recently in an email I got, improve your jazz guitar teaching with a real student.
Really?
Someone wrote me, like, you want to get good at teaching? Teach me.
I take him on or her on if just out of principle. It's so witty.
Yeah, it's just like anything you do, just that quote, free lessons for life.
Yeah, done. You're done. All right.
So thank you for watching. This has been the webinar, as Nathan said. And don't forget, for members, we also have office hours for unlimited and standard members, I believe. You can check the page if you want to look at what's included in your membership and how jazzguitarlessons.net/memberships. If you want to change your membership level, you can write us. On the Jazz Guitar Store platform, you have tons of courses, one new standard each month. That's what we call the Tune of the Month Club. You have a little button at the bottom right of the screen where you can click for help. It's intercom. Nathan can help you. We have Michelle also. Sometimes I'm on there too. Pretty busy building the new courses and creating videos. Or sleeping until noon.
Yeah.
Things like
musician
that.
Life, right?
So office hours are there, webinar are there. If you're watching this live and you would like to rewatch, it will be in your account. So you have a product, we call it. It's not even a product, but it's office hours. We have a playlist with all the replays for office hours, which are weekly, half an hour with yours truly. And we have webinars monthly with Nathan from now on, which will cover, as we did, questions, and then the topic is the Tune of the Month. We can really dissect it and look at parts.
I believe next month's Tune of the Month is How Insensitive. We'll be releasing that on the 1st of the month of May.
Hopefully.
And somewhere around that time, sound slides will be up as well within a couple days, hopefully. And I'll be tackling those issues, any issues that come up, and your questions about How Insensitive next month around the same time.
Excellent. So feel free to either comment on the store under this video, on YouTube under this video, we look for those, or to write us questions to admin@jazzguitarlessons.net. It'll be a pleasure. And once again, so we're going to start the broadcast.
Yep.
Final words. Thank you, jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher.
Yeah.
Take care and see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.